This will be question 4, part 3, which is using data generation.py to take in all the images of the outside target and turning it into the first attempt of a point cloud. The images we collected, of which I have a little bit more than 20, are in this file over here. Using data generation.py with corrected parameters, I can then take in all of the JPG files from the question 4 underscore images, and then also write all the outputs into testresults.txt. This step I already did because it usually takes up to a minute. So I ran it over here. It went through all of the sort of angles in a somewhat random fashion, but it worked. And then at the end of it, I got this txt file over here, which is honestly, I shouldn't open it because it is too long. However, the Python sort of point cloud generated was relatively, I wouldn't say useless, but it didn't help much because you couldn't get as much resolution as I wanted. So I instead went to point cloud, to cloud compare and the point cloud there, and I got a much better result. Thankfully, my scan yielded decently sharp edges of these sort of stone object in question. I can see the rectangular frame at the top. I can see the curved profile on the side. It does show the smooth curve. It also shows, one sec, it also shows the ground. These lines show the change from, yeah, this angle is a lot better. It shows the change from the ground over to the statue. And it also shows the angle that the statue was on. One thing to note is there are a couple of stray points over here that sort of muddle the entire thing. Something tells me the light behind the stone sort of messed with the general quality of the photos, allowing for a lot of noise to create this. I had hoped to see some of the writing, but with the quality of the light that was projected behind the stone, I'm just grateful to get clean enough lines over here. One thing to note is this specific area is significantly less defined, and that matches to the point in the scanning steps where our method of blocking the light was sort of inconsistent, as opposed to when it was more consistent over here and I used sort of like a backpack to block the light entirely. You can get a lot cleaner lines. One thing I also want to note is you can get the sharp corner over here. Since we were scanning at an angle, we were able to get close to 90 degrees, and our math is relatively accurate given the fact that it more or less lines up, even though the camera warped this section every single time. All right, thank you.